The Battle of Al-Khamisiyah, a significant event during the Gulf War, took place in March 1991, towards the end of the conflict that started in August 1990, when Iraq invaded Kuwait, leading to a multinational coalition intervention led by the United States. Al-Khamisiyah, a town in southern Iraq, became notable not just for the military operations that occurred there, but also for a post-conflict incident that had lasting health implications for veterans. The Gulf War, triggered by Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, led to a swift and decisive military response from a coalition of forces led by the United States, under the authorization of the United Nations. The coalition aimed to expel Iraqi forces from Kuwait and restore its sovereignty. After a comprehensive air campaign that lasted several weeks, the ground offensive began in late February 1991, quickly overwhelming Iraqi forces. The battle at Al-Khamisiyah was part of the ground operations conducted by coalition forces to defeat the Iraqi army and liberate Kuwait. It involved direct combat with Iraqi military units, who were retreating or attempting to regroup in the face of the coalition's overwhelming force. The specific details of the battle, including the units involved and the timeline, are less frequently highlighted in historical accounts compared to other Gulf War battles, partly because the ground war phase was marked by rapid coalition advances and numerous engagements across Kuwait and southern Iraq. The more widely known event associated with Al-Khamisiyah occurred after the official end of combat operations. In March 1991, U.S. troops destroyed a large cache of Iraqi munitions at a site near the town. Unbeknownst to the soldiers at the time, the cache contained chemical weapons, including sarin and cyclosarin nerve agents. The destruction of these munitions released a plume of chemical agents that potentially exposed thousands of U.S. troops and an unknown number of Iraqi civilians to hazardous chemicals. In the years following the Gulf War, veterans began reporting various health issues, later grouped under the umbrella term Gulf War Syndrome, or Gulf War illness. Symptoms included chronic fatigue, muscle pain, cognitive problems, and skin rashes. Studies and investigations into the causes of these health problems focused on several potential factors, including exposure to chemical agents, pesticides, vaccinations, and the stress of combat. The incident at Al-Khamisiyah gained attention as a possible source of chemical exposure that could contribute to Gulf War illness. The U.S. Department of Defense and other agencies conducted investigations to assess the exposure risk and potential health effects. However, establishing a direct causal link between exposure at Al-Khamisiyah and specific health outcomes has been challenging, given the multitude of potential environmental and chemical exposures during the war. The Battle of Al-Khamisiyah and the subsequent destruction of chemical weapons caches represent a notable chapter in the Gulf War, illustrating the complexities and unforeseen consequences of modern warfare. The incident underscores the importance of accurate intelligence and the potential long-term health impacts of chemical exposures on military personnel and civilians. Despite extensive research, the full impact of events like Al-Khamisiyah on veterans' health remains partially understood, highlighting the need for ongoing monitoring and support for those affected by military service in conflict zones.